bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear. And today we are sitting with 2 Kiwis. Something different here. We got some international flavor today. So we've got Yvette and Brett HODGE that are in from New Zealand and kind of here for hockey. Obviously, we've got two young ones that play, Addison and Lachlan, that are playing and at our camp this week, which is awesome. But I stole you guys from the parent group because I wanted to chat a little bit about what hockey is like in New Zealand. And obviously being from Canada, we're at times a little ignorant. A lot of us don't travel very much. But New Zealand is a place I think that if you ask any Canadian, hey, would you like to go to New Zealand? I think pretty much 99% of us would be like 100%. We'd love to go. Would you like to pay to go to New Zealand? 100%. We would not want to pay to go to New Zealand. I think a lot of us get scared because it's a long flight and all that kind of stuff. But I've got a sister who spent a lot of time in Australia and visited New Zealand, and I mean can't speak highly enough about just the area and what the whole thing is. But when you think of New Zealand, I think you think of movies being filmed there, like beautiful scenery, ocean, surfing. Yep. One of the last things you think about, I think, is hockey, right? So kind of a bit of background for you guys. Where exactly are you from?
We're from Christchurch.
Okay. Which for like an ignorant Canadian, is that like the northern part, southern part, eastern part?
It's halfway down the South Island on the east coast.
Okay.
It's the second biggest city in the country.
Okay.
Yeah, most people will know Christchurch or have heard of it because of the earthquake, about 6 years ago?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And a few other unfortunate events. A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
There's at the moment.
Yeah, some recent stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't get into that. Yeah. We don't want to be Debbie Downers here, just talk about all the bad stuff, right? Tell me some good things about New Zealand. No, you guys had like a lot of movies there, obviously, right? And like the scenery and the area, the backdrop is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think most of that's filmed in the North Island.
Yeah.
Just because of the rocks and things like that. They're there in Hobbiton. Is over there. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, cool.
I think the battle scenes and so on were some of the parts of the South Island, though.
Yeah.
Big areas.
Yeah.
Not far from us, probably about an hour and a half drive from Christchurch.
Okay, cool.
To go and have a look around where a lot of those battle scenes were filmed.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you guys ever take it for granted? Like I talk to people that live in the mountains and stuff like that, and just like, do you ever wake up in the morning and be like, oh, mountains again? Like where people like us who are flatter area or don't have that scenery. We're like, we'd wake up in the morning for the first 10, 15 days, like this is unbelievable. But now is it kind of like old news a little bit just because you've lived there your whole life?
Sometimes, I think definitely until you go for a drive again. Yeah, we go to Tekapo with the kids for ice hockey. When we're driving there, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And you just snow-capped mountains. It's just beautiful. And you just like, we're so lucky to live in this country.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Especially when you go to different countries and you see the scenery and it's different, still beautiful, but it makes you appreciate what we have.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, for sure. So for you guys, like how did you guys get into hockey then? So what's the major sport in New Zealand? Like what's the biggest sport played there?
Yeah,
Rugby.
Rugby and for females it would be
netball. Netball for females.
Okay, you got what's netball?
It's
basketball with no dribbling and no backboard.
Trying to explain it. That's
really
the easiest way. Yeah.
Okay, so is it 5-on-5?
7-on-7.
Okay, so 7-on-7.
Yeah.
You're playing on a basketball court?
Kind of. It's a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And it's divided into thirds instead of halves.
Okay.
And the ball has to be caught or touched in each third, and you can't run with the ball.
Okay, so it's kind of like...
And it's a soccer ball, effectively.
Yeah, it kind of looks more like a soccer ball.
And so it's kind of handball-ish?
Yeah.
As far as like passing the ball, you can't run with it?
No, you have to catch it and you've got 3 seconds to pass it.
Okay, and then you got to put it in a basket, like basketball?
With no backboard, yeah.
And it's a bit taller and it's a bit smaller, the hoop.
No way.
Yeah.
I think I'd be really good at... No, I'm kidding.
And it's played in winter.
Yeah, and winter and sleeveless dresses.
It's in uniform, yeah.
Like, so outside?
Yeah.
Really? So your women are like tough as nails in New Zealand?
I've played and it's sleeting.
Really?
Yeah, and
you got to wear a skirt and no sleeves?
Yeah, and you're not allowed to wear anything on your legs.
You're not allowed to wear anything on your legs. Yep, you have to wear little shorts that can't be seen under your dress or skirt. Yeah.
Is this even politically correct anymore? You guys are a little off the mark. No one really knows, right? Just the Kiwis know. They kind of keep their own little secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious. That's cool.
But our kids started playing Ripper rugby.
Okay.
And so because rugby was the big sport.
Yeah.
And
It's like the flag footy equivalent.
yeah, flag footy.
Yeah.
And so they got into that. And then under sevens, I think it is non-tackle. So it's just like flag footy. So ripper.
Yeah.
And our kids did that and they loved it, just getting them active. And they did football. So they've tried lots of different sports. And then it was Brett that got them into ice hockey.
Yeah. When I was maybe 11 or 12 years old, we had a Canadian neighbor called Frank Stephenson. And
Okay, I'll just push that up to you a little bit.
Okay, and
totally.
he had really little kids at that stage, and so he sort of dragged us down to the rink and got us into it.
No way.
And his son still plays. He's really, really good at it.
Cool.
Plays for the local.
And did you play growing up a little bit?
Yeah, so I started playing then.
Oh, okay, so he kind of got you into it.
Got me into
it. Okay,
it.
gotcha. Okay.
And then, I played just socially right through until early 20s when got a job and we started doing a little bit more snowboarding and things like that interfered, and then got back into it when I wanted my kid to start playing.
Yeah.
He may have been seven, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Thereabouts. Yeah, went down and we got him on the ice, and then of course I kind of thought, well, I'll start playing again.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
That's cool. Now, when we think of New Zealand, obviously, like I said, hockey's maybe not the first thing we think about, but obviously you guys are entrenched in the hockey community there. So give us an idea, how big population-wise would New Zealand be?
I think it's 4.5 to 5 million, I think.
Okay.
Thereabouts.
And the town and your town is?
So our town, I think, is just under 500,000, but if you include the outlying areas and so on, it's probably just over 500,000.
Okay. And that's the second largest, right? Yeah.
But I think in the South Island, there's less than 1 million people. Just under 1 million. Most of the people live in the North Island.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, so in your area, roughly just over 500,000, how many hockey arenas?
We've got one sheet of ice.
Which is crazy. Like we've got like 15 and like we could bike to 10 rinks right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This afternoon, right? So, which is crazy, you know, because I think, we were talking about this before we got on the air, but for us as Canadians, we kind of take it for granted. Right? We have so much ice. This rink sucks. This ice is brutal, and we kind of take it for granted. But for you take half our rinks in a second that we hate or we don't want to use, and in a second you take them and you'd use them relentlessly, right? So, now what's the demand like? So let's say we look at like a minor hockey, system there that you guys have, and somewhat of a. I know there's a lot of travel. Obviously, you have one rink, you're going other places to play, but. How many kids would be playing hockey roughly? Would you have an idea, even at an age group or even as kind of a whole?
I think over the winter season there might be 130 kids, like total for like from very start to 18.
There's a lot more now. So so I'm on the minors committee. So the minors is under 18s.
Okay.
So we have the mites, which are our under 8s.
Okay, so little guys, and girls.
So our under 8s, we have 20 of them. Then our next, which would be our biggest, which is the atoms that we call it. So that's our under 12s or 12 and under is what we have. Now, roughly, they said we've got about 60 of those now that are moving through.
Yeah.
And then for our peewees, which are next.
Bantams now.
Oh, is it Bantams?
Yeah, they changed because they changed the age. But under 15s.
Under 15s, we've got in that age group, because some of them cross over with ours, there's about 17.
Okay.
Yeah, but what happens is you end up with, because the next age group's contact.
Yeah.
So ones that are not very good and just sort of starting out, they'll stay in there. So we have a few like 15, 16-year-olds that stay so they don't get
makes sense,
injured.
Yeah, and then the under 18s, there's only about 15 or so of those. But then there's high school. So we've got some kids that really
don't play like minor hockey, that just play high school.
Yeah, they just play high school league, or they just play socially because when they're turned 16, they can the girls can play just our women's league, which is once a week.
Yeah.
And so we've probably got all in all, probably I'd say more closer to about 200 kids that play.
Wow. Yeah. And so 200 kids that play, and then there's probably some adult leagues as well, right? Like the women's league would be a bit of an adult league, the men's league. So there's probably would you say another 40, 50 hockey players at the adult level?
Oh, no, way more.
There's heaps of adults that play.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And figure skating over there as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're splitting the ice between a couple hundred hockey players, figure skaters, and high school, the whole nine, but on one sheet.
Public skating sessions.
Public skating,
so their main thing is public skating sessions. So everything else has to fit around that.
Yeah.
And that got speed as well.
Speed.
Oh, right. Okay. Speed
and
skating.
learn to skate sessions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So skating lessons.
It's a busy rink.
Yeah, no doubt. It must run from 6 a.m. till 12 at night most days, right?
I think it finishes at 11.
Yeah.
Is when they finish. But 6 to 11 constant.
It's crazy, right? And I mean, when you look at like all these other sports that we have, obviously, as far as like speed skating and figure skating and hockey, have you guys had any Olympic athletes or anybody that's come out of there in ice at all? Like whether it's speed skating, figure skating, or
we have had speed, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure when I was younger there were
Yeah.
one or two. But I think the New Zealand speed ones, they train in Salt Lake City in Utah.
Right.
So
which is common, right?
Yeah, because they've got the
which makes sense for sure.
So,
yeah.
But I don't think so.
No, because the problem is, like we've said before, getting ice time so that they can train.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest barrier, I'd say. And then there's the cost if you're trying to get extra ice time or training.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, let's say, for instance, a pair of skates for a young player, like a 10, 11, 12-year-old, right? To buy them, like, how would you guys, because I'm sure there's not like Source for Sports sitting at every corner or every town, right? So how, like, even getting equipment and sticks and things like that. I know today you guys are talking about, man, these cones are sweet. Like, we're talking about pylons on the ice. Like, we're going to get some and bring them back to New Zealand, which, again, for us, we take it for granted. There's pylons everywhere. There's, it is what it is, right? But so for you, like, what would a pair of skates cost? Because everything's got to be shipped in or flown in, so it's different. There's a lot of up costs on stuff, probably, right?
Well, there's a person that's got Bauer, and I think the Bauer in Auckland. So they have the rights to it, so you can get anything from them.
Yeah.
Special order or whatever they've got in stock, and they have a fair bit of stuff, and it's not too bad.
Yeah. Okay.
It was worse, but it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But there's a massive secondhand market.
Okay. Right.
Obviously, because people pass stuff along.
Sure.
You guys would be shocked the amount that we pay for secondhand gear.
Yeah.
Like, or third, fourth, fifth hand gear, sticks and skates and gear and just,
But their skates are probably, I don't know, to be fair, probably half as much again as what you'd go down and get. But I think the thing in New Zealand is you don't have like last season stuff for half price.
Right.
Because they just don't do that because they don't need to.
Right.
It's just one shop kind of thing. So you tend to be.
So we generally buy all the kids' gear when we come over here.
Well, I was going to say, when you guys are in Canada or the States, wherever you're traveling, I mean, you can find some really good deals, especially right now in the summer, right? For our summer. You can find some great deals on some sticks and you've already got your hockey bags here, so you may as well get rid of the old stuff and dump in the new stuff. And
oh no, we take that back too.
Yeah, you got to sell that. Totally, for sure. Yeah. I got a couple bags of gear at home. I'll send home with you guys. You guys can make a little profit on them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, going like to your young ones, when they started playing hockey, you guys introduced them to hockey around 7. Did they take to it right away? Were they kind of, because I know not all their buddies are probably playing. So all their buddies are probably playing, rugby and soccer, different things like that. So was it something that they took to right away, or were they kind of like, I'd rather go play rugby?
No, he took to it.
Yeah.
Lachlan just from day one.
Loved it.
Pair of skates. Loved it. Even now, just, can't get enough.
Yeah. And he was about 7 when he started?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Like I was late to the game. So I had a mom that was a figure skater. I had a father who played hockey, and it was typical. Like my mom would be like, "Hey, let's go skate." Like, no, I don't want to. And we were from Sudbury, which is like basically frozen from October, November, right through to March. So we had outdoor rinks every neighborhood. Like, it was unbelievable for hockey, but I never wanted to play. And then at 9, we moved into a new neighborhood. Everyone started playing ball hockey, like all the neighbors. So we started playing, my brother and I. And one day we came home and said, "Hey, Dad, I think I want to play hockey." And it was like, grabbed us, took us to like the secondhand store, got us gear. And I was terrible, like awful. But I was 9, so kind of like 7. I was older, a little bit more athletic, a little bit smarter, and I loved it. So probably like Lachlan, you kind of pick it up so quick. I'm sure you saw that his curve just go crazy. His skill gets so much better so fast, right? When he started getting into it. And for him, like getting him into it, was it signing him up to minor hockey? Was it kind of going public skating with him? Was it, how that whole thing happened?
We took him along to hockey and just did skate lessons at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. They enjoyed it.
At that stage, there was no coach either.
Yeah, we were in sort of a position where there was not actually a coach.
Okay.
So I think I was on there by the second week, along with 1 or 2 other parents.
By default, You took the team over.
Yeah, I had skates, I guess. So.
Yeah,
and could skate.
Yeah, right.
Things boomed along a little bit more. They got a paid for a pro coach.
Yeah,
and they came along and sort of grew it a little bit more from there as well. So
yeah,
it's like any sport; it sort of goes up and it goes down, and so on.
For sure.
So we kind of got in, I guess, at not a bad time, because straight after Lockie started, they had the coach come along and sort of start to get things moving along and getting other coaches moving along.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, we have one actually like qualified or not quite knowledgeable coach. One.
Quite knowledgeable, not extremely knowledgeable.
Well, he is very good, but
No,
when I say knowledgeable, like qualified.
Yeah, sure.
And very skilled. So he's really good, but he's just one person.
Yeah,
One
which is
person
hard,
for
man,
all of
for
those
a
kids.
couple hundred people, which is a lot.
He's got to depend on, parents to do the other part. And of course, like senior, sort of like, 17, 18-year-old players. And they're really good.
Yeah.
Like there is quite a big attitude of people just coming down, volunteering their time. And
That's
so on.
awesome. Oh, that's really cool. And for him, he'd probably be like paid, I'm assuming, by the rink. Like he's like director of hockey or something like that. The club, okay.
Yeah.
And is the rink privately owned there, or is it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is with the rink, and you can't blame them. It's a business.
Mm-hmm.
They make a lot of money out of public skate sessions because it's a social thing. There's Saturday night, all the kids go down and they pay a whole lot of money and they go skating, or in the afternoon, the parents go down, they spend, $20 or $30 in the cafe and this on the kids skating around, and they do well out of that.
Now, as a hockey father and mother, and when you guys go down and watch public skating, is it not just a gong show? Like it's crazy, man. I've gone to like in the US, same thing. Like public skating is a big thing because you'll pay $3 to skate and $2 on a rental, and then spend $15 on slushies and fries and whatever they got there, right? So, but in New Zealand, can they wear helmets when they're public skating, or do they have to wear helmets, or no?
They don't have to, but they recommend it.
Okay, so
they have them that they can use.
Okay, so in the US, you don't have to. Same thing. It's
chaos.
Insane. Like we're talking about this thing called a concussion that I don't know why public skating never heard about it, but I remember walking over one time like, what is going on? Like you get kids hanging on the boards, you get in terrible skates too. They're like in rentals that have no ankle support. So these poor kids are trying to learn how to skate, which is impossible on these skates. And so I'm assuming it's kind of the same. I'm just picturing like 50, 60 kids wheeling around the ice, off the ice, wheeling around.
And they turn the lights off too.
Yes, and they get some music going. Yes, even worse. Can't see where they're going.
I gotta say it's probably more like 200.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think
Really?
they've got a maximum of 400, they said, that can go into the rink.
On a Saturday night, it's like $15, not
$15 for us to generate.
Wow. Okay, so what we need to do after this pod, we need to open our own rink. Okay, we need to start getting public skating 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Do you know how many people keep talking about opening another rink?
Yeah.
Like they're like, hockey parents, they're like, we just need to open another rink. If I won the lotto.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. Because what's the biggest, I guess, pullback on somebody, like I'm assuming it's probably not a bad business to own, right?
It'd be a massive risk, I guess. Because what if? And it's not like, I mean, over here building a rink's pretty easy because you've got everyone who builds them is here, all the equipment's here, and in New Zealand it wouldn't be that. Everything would have to come in, including the knowledge. So I guess you got YouTube, so you're fine. Yeah. Well, the
Google.
funny thing, so I don't think there's been a new rink in New Zealand since the mid-90s. There was a second rink built in Auckland by the same people that own the one there, so they probably had an idea. And then, Dunedin put one in, but it was a council, so local government, and of course local government just spends whatever they want to spend.
Yeah, for sure.
But Wellington, which is never, I don't think they've ever have a rink.
So that's the bottom of the North Island.
Okay.
So they had this thing where USA versus Canada, and they go to Australia and they play in, they get an arena and they go on.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So they did that in Wellington, and it was a really good idea, but they went to in the outdoor rugby stadium, and it was a little bit warm, and it's quite a windy place. And I think the night before the game, it got a little bit warm. Something happened with the ice, and then the wind literally blew the boards over. So it all fell to bits, and they couldn't have the game there. But I think someone local bought the setup and put it in a warehouse, and they actually have
they have a bit of a rink, like a makeshift. No way.
And a team and all that now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Because it's a whole other...
Yeah.
And they've probably got, 500,000 people in around that area.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like that's pretty cool.
No, definitely.
So
now the rinks that are all set up, so in all of New Zealand, there's probably 5-6 rinks?
So Auckland's got 2 sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Wellington's just got their sheet now.
Yeah, okay.
But it's only been around for
it's not
a year. It's not full size.
No.
Yeah.
But we've got all year ice in the South Island. You've got Christchurch with 1 sheet. You've got Dunedin with 1.5 sheets.
Mm-hmm.
They've got like a sort of curling / public skating rink next to that. And I think Gore is year round.
No, Gore's not year round.
Gore's not year round.
No.
It's a really tiny little wee town
down in the South Island, right down the bottom.
That people mock, but it's actually really nice.
Yeah.
So, it's very pretty there.
It is very pretty in the middle of nowhere.
And
they got a rink.
Yeah, and they got a rink.
And
I know.
Queenstown can run year round, but they don't. They shut down for 3 or 4 months over the summer.
Yeah.
And then you've got, as far as other indoor ones, I think that's as far as indoor. And then you've got Lake Tekapo, which is the coolest rink in the world, I think.
It's beautiful.
Okay, cool.
Lake Tekapo is like a really pretty lake.
Yeah.
There's a big lodge and there's hot pools and
No
you're right next to
way.
the lake and you play outdoors on an outdoor.
But it's
sheet
only
of ice.
so there's about 3 outdoor rinks then
Yeah,
that
that's-
operate in the South Island only.
Only in the winter, obviously, right?
Only
And
in
your
the
winter's opposite ours, right?
Yeah,
Like right
so-
now is your winter,
Yeah.
correct? And which is our summer now. And
So Tekapo, they artificially freeze it as well. Obviously, like they have machine
coolers
that's not
underneath
there.
it. Yeah.
But I think it's around April through till September,
Yeah.
October until the sun gets over
Yeah.
it. But that's the best place.
That's
to go.
pretty cool. And those are all the pockets that you guys would travel to play other minor hockey teams, right? For the most part.
So generally not Tekapo
Yeah.
because it's
We go
only
there
a
for-
small rink. We go there for camps,
camps
for
and-
coaching
Okay.
camps. There's an amazing coaching camp that's run there
Cool.
by a guy called Pete Anderson, and he's been running it for, I think they
He's-
said almost 17 years
Yeah, this
now.
guy figured it out,
He's
man.
one
He
of the-
moved. Does he live there?
Well,
Yeah.
the first New Zealand had like a national team, and they had the record at one stage for the biggest defeat ever,
Okay.
which is not something to be proud of. But they got together.
You got in
like
the
this-
books. You got in the books. That's
they
good.
got this team together. I think it was sometime in the 80s or whatever, and they went over and they went into some IIHF competition.
Yeah.
And they got absolutely thumped by Australia. The Australian team was made up of like a whole lot of expat, like
Sure.
Canadians and
Yeah.
Americans and whatever that had Canadian citizenship.
Yeah.
And the New Zealand one was like, just not
Bunch of
that.
dudes.
But
Yeah.
a lot of these guys, I think, that were there, like some of the better ones, have stuck around and sort of
Yeah.
helped
Run this
build
camp.
hockey.
Yeah.
Here at, yeah.
But when we travel, so the only rinks that we travel to are Auckland, Christchurch, Dunedin, and Queenstown.
Okay.
So 3 of those are in the South Island.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 that are in Auckland. So
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you guys travel to Australia and stuff to play? Like, would there be any tournaments or
Well,
things like that you guys would do?
yeah.
There's one that's run by there's a guy who's in the Australian national team, and he's not from, I don't know what country he's from.
Yeah.
Joey Resnick, I think his name is, or something like that. And he runs this tournament just because he wants to grow hockey over there. He's
Yeah.
from Adelaide.
Okay.
And he runs it once a year in November, and he gets like 3 or 4 teams from New Zealand and
Yeah.
like teams from all over Australia, and they have like a week and they play 2 games a day.
Cool.
Have this tournament, and it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but our son, he's gone and played it
twice.
I know
3 times.
3 times.
Okay.
He plays for a Melbourne team.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay,
really,
cool.
really cool. They've got like a really cool sort of
Yeah.
youth hockey program there, and
Definitely.
they adopt some Kiwis and
Yeah.
they take them along and they play on that.
That's cool.
So
that's really cool.
That's lots of fun.
But now going to hockey, like, the price of hockey, like we said, just even skates and sticks and things like that, it's not cheap, right? Like, up here, it costs, probably for a player to play AAA hockey, just their fees to play are probably $3, $4, $5 roughly, depending on the team. Cause there's team fees and then there's your association fees. And then you got your travel on top of that and stuff. So it could be expensive, but if you're looking at minor hockey, I mean, just like house league or B hockey, kind of a step up from house league, it could be, you could play a whole season for $1,000 or $1,500, and that's usually from, September roughly all the way to March, you know what I mean? So a good stint, you know what I mean? And for you guys and girls that play down there, how much, what would a rough idea of just playing and how long would a season be for you?
Well, they tend to play like it's a year-round sport.
Yeah.
And I guess that's because we don't. I mean, to get enough ice time over
Yeah.
a normal season would be difficult because you got to compete with all the other winter
Right.
ice sports. But
So our main season, I guess what you call our season, is probably, so we break ours into terms.
Okay.
So term 2 and 3. So that's like
I just think like peewees
starting
yeah.
when we get back, Monday when we get back would be
You're
us.
starting.
Yeah.
Well, that's the second half of the season.
That's the second half.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
So
Yeah.
for a season, which would be 2 terms, maybe sharing the ice of peewees, I think it'd be like 35 kids.
No. So
30,
cost wise.
yeah, I'm just trying to think. So 35 kids.
Yeah.
I think it might be, is it like around 700 for both
For
terms?
both.
Okay.
Both terms. So
And
that's
that's a game and a training a week.
so that's only really probably about 2 hours on the ice
A week.
for
Yeah.
20 weeks.
Okay.
That's it.
And 700 for 700 term or 700 whole?
700
whole
Okay.
for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's only
Not a lot of ice, and 35 kids on the ice with probably 1 or 2 coaches.
one coach that knows what they're talking
about. Oh no, that's not fair. Like there's a lot of the parents do. A lot of the parents do know what they're doing. But it's not like it's their job. It's not like they've had a lot of, special training in that.
Definitely,
they've all been coached themselves and so on.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's probably you'll have a parent who's not amazing, but they'll be good at like keeping the kids doing what they're supposed to do.
Organized,
and then you'll have like a 16, 17-year-old kid who's good.
Yeah.
They've been through it all in that, and they'll be there to sort of show and you can see how it's meant to be
definitely,
done. So it works.
Canterbury is one of the biggest growing regions as far as ice hockey, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
So that's a positive thing, and that's testament to our coach going into schools and promoting it because, like you said, getting into ice hockey. I mean, Brett had a neighbour who was Canadian, but otherwise most people, unless, they've got like Lachlan at school.
Right.
Or someone who's, all into ice hockey.
Talking about it,
Yeah, they have no clue. They go to the public skating session and that's all they do.
Yeah.
So so it is growing, which is really, really good. But yeah, it's still quite expensive. And like we said, one practice and one game per week for 20 weeks. And that's really it.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, it's not a ton of content, which is tough. So for you as a family, and obviously your kids love it, your daughter and your son both love it. So you guys seek out other things and travel the world a little bit and come to Canada and do some camps and stuff, but kind of take advantage of time off that you have and do it, which is cool. And, we were talking about it a little bit before, but I think in Canada, sometimes we just take it for granted that you play hockey, you're Canadian, that's what you do, and I think that's all fine and that's great. But at the end of the day, the players that are more serious, like Lachlan, like your son, there's extra, like these players that are serious, they'll do privates, they'll do extra shooting lessons, they'll do other things, they'll shoot pucks at home, they'll do things that don't have to cost a lot of money. But in Australia, how many kids are like Lachlan? Like how many kids in that minor hockey are most of the kids that are playing right now pretty dedicated to it? They love it. They want it, or some just kind of playing because it's fun and that's their seasonal sport. And then they go on to something else in the off season.
I think a majority is it's fun, but there are some kids that they get really good and they take it really seriously.
Yeah.
So, and they come over here or they'll go to the States. So there's a few kids, they'll go to like an academy or something. There's a couple that we know that Lachlan plays with, and they're going to be starting this September at different academies.
Yeah.
We've had we've got a goalie that came from Auckland. I don't know what her last name, Grace.
Harrison. Grace Harrison.
She's doing absolutely amazing in somewhere in New York, one of the colleges.
Cool.
And she got a scholarship there.
Yeah.
And I think she has top stats.
Yeah, she does.
For the whole competition.
Yeah.
And then there's another one from Christchurch, Jake Ratcliffe, isn't it? Yeah. And he's got a scholarship to somewhere over there.
Yeah.
But the majority would probably be, it's just fun.
Yeah, just
so
seasonal.
It would probably be a handful of kids like Lachlan and his friend Jacob and the guy Jake and Grace that take it seriously.
Like Jake, he went to an academy.
Yeah.
So when he was, maybe a bit older than Lachlan, he effectively shifted to Canada and did it all over here because that's what you got to do.
So if you are elite in hockey there, I mean, you're going to get to a point in your career, in your young career, or an age where you're like, hey, now it's time to take that next step if we want to really maybe try to get a scholarship or try to continue playing hockey, which is not cheap, obviously, even just the flights and the travel. And whether you got a scholarship or not, it's still not cheap. So I'm going to assume that in New Zealand, for the most part, especially for the elite players, and very similar to Canada, parents have to find a way. It doesn't mean that you have to have a lot of money, but maybe you get sponsorship, maybe you get some help from family and friends or whatever to help out. But I'm assuming most of the families that you're talking about either have the means to do this or have figured out a way to help their child do this, right? Because it's not
definitely
not affordable, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, and like you said, we can't stay in New Zealand. If they're any good, they have to come overseas. They have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's what works for particular families. So one of them that we know was lucky enough that they had dual citizenship and they went to the UK.
Okay.
And so they went to the UK to be able to train and live with family there. So like you said, it's just finding ways for different families and what works for them. So for us, it's the Canadian route.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Kiwis because they look at Nathan Walker, I'm guessing. He's from Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I've read his story. He went to Czech Republic when he was like 13 years old.
Right.
And that's how he went and did it. And I guess that's what kids.
So I don't know. I know Walker really well because he plays in Hershey and Washington, right? So and I've been with them for a bunch of years. So I met him one of his first years playing pro, and I was just talking about it again this I saw him obviously a bunch this year, and just, he's gotten married. His wife now is from there, and it's a really, really cool story. And I asked him the same thing, like, how'd you do it? And same idea, like I had to leave, I had to move to the Czech and played, some good hockey, and obviously got drafted. And things worked out for him, obviously, but he's a hardworking guy. Knows what he wants. He works his tail off, and he's not a big player, but plays big. And so it's really cool, to have role models like that, I think, for that area, right? And that kind of region, to have guys and girls that have gone on to do stuff that, like, man, like, it is possible. You're just going to have to sacrifice a little bit and, maybe have to move away from home or however all that works. But it's definitely cool to see.
Yeah, Lachlan, we went to the Hockey Hall of Fame and got his picture taken beside Nathan Walker's jersey.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Because, like, Australia and New Zealand get on really well, but bitter sports rivals.
For sure.
That's just sort of the way it is. But, and with hockey, they have Australia versus New Zealand in Queenstown once a year. As a thing, and it's pretty cool and so on. But at the end of the day, I think New Zealand is, everyone's sort of like very, very stoked that this guy's managed to
it's cool
to get there and sort of following him, quite closely. And it's very cool that someone from
he's a fantastic role model for the kids too.
And he's a good dude. Like, he's such a nice guy. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to meet him, but if you ever have a chance, if he's back home or if he's back in us, and you guys are, however all that works out, if you're around, but he's a really, really nice guy. I mean, he's awesome. And if Lachlan ever ends up coming over to this way and he's in the area, I'll definitely hook up a visit with him, because he's a
if
really,
he ever does, talk to Lachlan. It's a definite he'd be here today.
Yeah, I know, he's a cool, really like down to earth guy, real humble, very never lost his roots. You know what I mean? And just like, obviously had a lot of success. And we were talking about it this year. I was talking about it with him this year, and I'm like, man, Walks, you gotta like understand what you've done. You came out of Australia, whether you play another NHL game or not, because he already has, whether you do or not, like, it's pretty impressive. You're getting paid to play professional hockey out of Australia, which is at a high level, like the second highest level in the world, basically, at the AHL, right? So, like, that's, and I don't ever want to take that NHL dream away from any player, and he may have great opportunities to play more NHL games, don't get me wrong, but if you sit back for a second and he was like, no, you're right. Like, sometimes I do kind of look at it, I'm like, wow, it's pretty cool, They always want to drive for that NHL, right? They're always pushing. So it's never, not in a bad way. It's just, they haven't reached their goal yet. They're not a steady NHL player, which is very understandable. But for a guy like him, like, that's unbelievable, man,
It's great because, like we said, it gives other kids, hey, if this is my dream, this could be attainable if I work hard enough.
Yep.
For
sure.
And that's what's really, really cool about, Nathan and everything that he's accomplished. Yeah. Which is fantastic.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's, I really have an issue with any parent from New Zealand, from Canada, from the States that, their kids like, hey, what do you want to do when you're older? Talking to a child. What do you want to do? I want to play in the NHL. Well, it's never going to happen. I don't know that. I don't know that at 15 years old if the kid's ever going to play. Like, I've seen kids, they, call it a bit of a light switch, but I've seen kids have their light switch turn on at 12 years old and all of a sudden got super bought in, super dedicated, and went on to have a scholarship. And I always say, if you play AA, that's amazing. Like, you've separated yourself from a lot of other players. If you play AAA, that's unreal. You've separated yourself. You get a chance to play junior. Now you've just gone where a lot of players will never go. And you get a chance to get a scholarship or play college or university hockey. That's unbelievable. You get a chance to play pro. That's, to me, like, you're just kind of going up that pyramid right now. Obviously the NHL is the biggest goal, but if you can push hockey out of New Zealand or Canada and play for another 10 years until you're 25 years old and then get a job, like, that's unbelievable. So I think for a lot of the parents, a lot of the kids, like, exactly, like, I don't know if you're going to play in the NHL. If that's what you want to do, but if that's a carrot I got to use to get you to brush your teeth and go to bed on time, I'm using that carrot, right? And I think that's, and I'm big on exactly that. Like, if you're willing to work hard and you're willing to put the time in, there's going to be other things that happen. You got to get a bit lucky. You got to be in the right place, right time, and things like that. But who knows what happens, right? And I think it's cool for kids to have those kind of role models and have parents that support it, obviously, and say, hey, let's see what happens. Let's have some fun with this. We'll travel, yeah, maybe our bank account's not where we want it to be right now, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later.
Yeah. That's so true.
But I think it's like, I think that's for any parent, any adults that have kids, like, whether you do a lot with them or not, they're going to cost you money. Right. And my wife and I are the same. Like, we don't want gifts. We want experiences. Yeah, so even at birthdays, like, we may not get them the big gift, but we're going to go out east for Christmas, or we're going to go do this for whatever. Right. And we have family kind of spread. So we're traveling a lot to see family, but for us, it's more about just having cool experiences with our kids. And I think you guys have done an unbelievable job of that, obviously, right, over the years. coming to Canada. And
that's what they're going to remember, isn't it? They're not going to remember what present you bought them on their 4th birthday, but they're going to remember the trip that you took them on. You know?
Totally.
And the experiences they had. So,
yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess with Lockie's he's a really driven kid, and I think he'll just want to play the best level that he can possibly get to, and that for us is, for him that'll be, I guess, goal achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just sort of keep playing better and better hockey.
Yeah. And I for me, when I see young kids, like a kid like Locke, who, is motivated, he's driven, he works hard, he's good with other players, respectful of the coaches, things like that. Like all those kind of things line up, right? Well, whether he plays another day of hockey or not doesn't matter. I think he's probably going to be a pretty good adult. He's probably going to be a pretty good dad, probably be a pretty good husband. Like, he's lining up already. And I'm obviously he's got good parents, but it's also just a lot of the things that they learn along the way, right? That getting up at 5 o'clock to go to a 6 o'clock practice, or making sure your gear is packed. Because if you're missing your helmet, I'm going to be pretty pissed off at you when you get to the rink, right? Like there's all these little things, right? That I think kids learn along the way, just kind of by accident or whatever. But those, I think, are a lot of the ways that, players, people get set up in life, and you've met a lot of people along the way that you can tell right away if they're a team player, if they've maybe done individual sports, they never played sports before. You can kind of navigate through that pretty quickly, right?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the fact that every kid should do some form of team sport, or just even a sport, because of the discipline, like you were saying, and all of those things that it brings to it.
Yeah.
I just think that it makes them, much better as a person to be able to get along, that teamwork, the leadership, the discipline, the dedication, hard work, all of that kind of stuff. I think. Yeah. Everything that sport brings.
Yeah, it's huge for sure.
Learning to listen, learning to follow instructions.
Yeah.
Getting told you've done something wrong and being able to pick yourself up and do it right without sitting there, dwelling on it. It's all important stuff.
Oh, definitely. Now you're a teacher.
Yes.
Right. So I got a question for you, because this is something that we're banging our heads against the wall as just as a nation, I think as a world, but let's talk through hockey, but athletes, whatever you want to call it, sort of young people. But I find our younger generation really soft. So what I think is going to happen, this is my prediction, this is kind of my own opinion, but back when we were young, we could take a bit of a beating, whether it's verbally or maybe physically, you never know. Yeah. But parents were a little bit harder. It was a little bit different. Things have changed, and I think a lot of things have changed for the right reasons and the right way. Don't get me wrong, but I feel that our kids have a hard time dealing with any kind of adversity, because as a parent, we don't want our kids to suffer, and we take over a lot of that stuff and deal with it, talk to the teacher, talk to the coach, all that kind of stuff. And I think down the road, I think we're going to have a lot of kids that aren't going to be mentally tough enough to play high level sports as they get 18, 19, 20, and they're going to get that coach that's going to lash out at them and stuff like that. And I think we might get a little bit of burnout, and the burnout, I never felt burnout, and I loved hockey. I had a father who was like, Dwayne, you got to settle down. Like, you're doing too much. And I was like, no, I know what I need to do. Right. But I think a lot of the times you got the parents that are pulling the kids to the rink, pulling the kids to the basketball court. Like, come on, we got to go practice. And that, I think I think we're either going to see a lot of burnout as they get 18, 19, or, older in their playing or whatever sport it is. And I think we're going to see a lot of mental softness where they're just not going to be able to deal with it. Yeah. What do you see in New Zealand in the school, with the kids? Is it similar to what we're dealing with in Canada as well?
I see the kids now, they're entitled.
Yeah.
They expect that they'll get this, they'll get this, they'll get that, rather than, oh my gosh, they actually have to work for it.
Yeah.
They have to want it,
sure.
and they have to go after it. They all sort of seem to feel like they're just entitled to.
So the word that we use now quite a lot with teaching is resilience. Kids don't have resilience these days. So, when they do come in and they do face adversity, a lot of them just crumble now.
Yeah.
And trying to deal with, why is that the case with these kids? Is it what social media has said? And a lot of it is that, a lot of what is put out there is social media is you can have what you want and you can have it now kind of a thing.
Yeah,
for
sure.
And unfortunately, that's kind of a lot of the generation that's coming through now, is they don't have that adversity that they're facing and are facing it head on and actually deal with it and come through the other side a stronger individual. A lot of them will give up, or,
for sure,
and so we are definitely, that is something with teaching that we've actually been spending a lot talking about with developing resilience in our kids. And how do we actually do that? Because you're right, because it comes all the way right through from not just sport, because I teach phys ed, but also I teach science. And so from whatever subject they're taking, whatever they're doing, they just are really lacking that real hard drive, the grit, the determination to pick themselves up and do really well. And so it is definitely something that we're challenged with how do we develop this in our kids nowadays?
Yeah.
But I think part of that is also, they take monkey bars out because you fall off and you break your arm, or
the parks are a joke.
Like, you're not allowed to play tackle rugby at lunchtime, or tackle bull rush, we called it, where you'd run and some of these things that they've done. And is that, part of that, just letting kids be kids, be able to play rough and tumble, and
For sure, yeah.
oh, hey, they broke their arm, or rather than pinpoint, well, you shouldn't let them do this. Hey, kids will be kids. They decided they wanted to join in and they wanted to play. Sweet as they broke their arm, let's deal with that.
Yep.
And I think you're right. Some parents, rather than let their kids deal with things, jump right in. And I think we're seeing a lot of more of the overprotective parent. You can be protective, but then there's a limit to when you should actually let your kids deal with things.
I totally agree. Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that. Hey, dude, you did that. You need to suffer whatever the consequences are for your behavior. Yeah. With all our kids. So.
Yeah, no, I think and I think you're right. I think as a parent, I think as you guys as parents as well, I always want my kids to have a better life than I had. I had a great life. I had great parents. I'm not complaining about any of that, but you want to make sure that maybe they get a little bit more than you had or whatever it is. Right. And I think that's good, but it also brings a lot of negative because we are protective. We are trying to protect. And I'm very much like you, like my kid, I'm sure if a kid breaks their arm at the park at school, the teachers are going to get wrath for it. The parents are going to come in. What happened? Why wasn't he supervised? Where my kid breaks his arm at school. Okay, what happened? I fell off the monkey bars. Okay, well, it happens. We'll get it fixed. Like, and we're, obviously you don't want your kid to break their arm, but at the same time, it's like, buddy, like if you're going to play in the monkey bars, which I want you to do, there's going to be, you're going to jump on the trampoline. That's fine. But there could be, possibility of something happening. Right. And dealing with it and kind of going through it. But that resilience is perfect. Like,
yeah. And that is the thing. Like, they do need to develop that resilience, but how do you develop that? Because it can be so different for each kid. Where you can push one kid to, and they're going to, develop some really good resilience and grit, determination. Another kid's going to crumble. So dealing with it with different ways. But I guess that's more for parents to decide. And that's the other thing I think that we're struggling with now as we're coming through is that parents are becoming more detached from spending a lot of time with their kids and sitting down and having meals with their kids and talking about how school is and what they can do and, having that one-on-one time with their parents. And so that's also, I think, where there's that disconnect with parents and their kids and talking about problems and issues and how to actually deal with it in a mature way as well. So I think that's also where there's a disconnect coming through with kids developing that resilience.
That's a great point. It's funny. We have a lot of friends like you guys with kids that play multiple sports and stuff. And sometimes it gets busy. Like you guys know what it's like, right? It's crazy. Yeah. And I feel like having a dinner, doesn't have to be every night, but having a family dinner, having a family breakfast, or on the weekend, having a barbecue, just your family, like having some of that family time, we lose a lot of that nowadays with how busy everybody is and how, social, whatever it is, you got so many things going on. Right. And I think that's the stuff I agree that is super important. And I think sometimes for parents too, we all have done this. So Johnny's asking me a question and I'm on my phone. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. And just like put the phone down, like that email is not that important or that text is not that important and, deal with your child. And I think I'm not perfect at it by any means, but being aware of it, I think is part of the problem. Yeah. I think the biggest solution is taking all the parents in the world and putting them in a room and having basically getting them to have some resilience in order to pass it by. Cause I wasn't raised like that. I wasn't raised to like be soft on my kids. My parents were hard on us. Like, we got spanked. Like it was different, but now all of a sudden that generation that got raised like that is so different. Which is crazy to me, like we were
not allowed to smack your kids in New Zealand.
No, same here.
Yeah.
So, but you're not allowed to smoke in the car either. Which I grew up, my dad smoked in the car. And you have to wear
seatbelts as well
exactly.
when you're riding in the back seat.
Yeah, you can't just wrestle in the back seat while your parents are driving.
Hold the baby in the front seat while you're driving.
Having a smoke with your baby in the front. Like honestly now, man, if you smoked with a kid in the back seat of the car, someone would be driving by you, videoing you for sure. Yeah. And you'd probably be locked up within 24 hours, Back in the day, it was like, I'd be sitting in the back seat with a shirt over my, like, God, Dad, can you stop smoking in the car, It's so different though. And I'm not saying that's right. Like that is so not right. We all know that, but it's just, it was what it was. Right. And I think, as parents, that's what really baffles me right now is I think a lot of this falls on the parents. I don't blame a 7-year-old kid for being a bit of a shit. I look at the parents. I'm like, dude, sorry, buddy. We got to help correct this. And for teachers, I think it's frustrating because you have the kids for 5, 6, 7 hours a day sometimes, right? And then what happens the other 4 or 5 hours a day? What happens on the weekends? What happens on the breaks?
Well, that's the problem nowadays is a lot of parents are expecting teachers to parent their kids.
For sure, yeah.
And that's what's happening because we will end up seeing them probably more than a lot of the parents will end up seeing them.
Yeah.
And so, we're expected to parent their kids and pass on their values and teach them resilience and teach them all of these things that, we probably learnt from our parents.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the problem as well, that, they don't get that from home where that's where they should really be getting it from all sides, from parents, from teachers, from everyone. And the more they get it from, the more it should absorb and soak in and they'll actually learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think as a parent too, sometimes it's like learning how to say no.
Yes.
Right? No is
Very
hard
much so.
because yes is way easier. Or, your kid's freaking out at Walmart because they want a ball. And you're like, no, we're not getting a ball today. But it's way easier to buy the ball. Kid's happy, go home. But again, those are lessons that like that no goes to me such a long way. And that doesn't start at 10, 11, 12. That starts at like 3, 2, 3, 4, like when they're young, and we had an incident the one day when we were all playing, the kids were playing or whatever. And one of my little guy was like 6, I think, and 5 or whatever, got a stick in the head. So it's fine. It was from one of our young friends, a good kid. The kid's a boy. Like he's just a boy. If he's got something he can hit, he's going to hit it. Right. So anyways, they're waiting for me by the locker room and my little guy's kind of upset and my daughter's there too. And it's like, Maddox got hit in the head with a stick. I'm like, okay, what happened? He's like, well, they were playing and hit me. I was on purpose and everything's on purpose, obviously. Right. Yeah, it was on purpose. I'm like, okay. So then it happened again. So I'm like, okay, no problem. But we were walking out and, my buddy's little guy still had his stick in his hand, like still kind of, playing with it. I'm like, no problem. So we were walking out. I was walking out with my 2 kids. I'm like, now, Maddox, like, you understand when you're playing with sticks and stuff, you got to be careful, obviously, but I said, you got to keep your stick down, and kind of teaching them lessons. And I looked at my little guys and I'm like, if you guys were playing with a stick and you bonk someone in the head, what would happen to that stick? And my little guy looks up and he's like, it would probably be in the garbage. Like, you're right. It would not be in your hands anymore, for sure, especially after the second time. And I'm not knocking the other parents. I'm just, but those are lessons that I try to teach my kids at young ages. Like, if you're going to disrespect your bike, you're not going to have a bike anymore. You're going to lose it for a week or whatever it is. Right. And they lose their, they lose it when you're disciplined with them, but they know next time when they're going to throw their bike on the lawn or they're going to be rude or disrespectful of something, there's going to be consequences. And I don't catch it every time or I'm not, but you try to like implement those things at younger ages. So I'm hoping that, cause I don't know how to take my kid from 5 years old to 50 and I have no idea. Like I have no, like even where your kids are at, I don't know how to get them to 10. I'm just every day trying to like, not mess these kids up is basically.
They need boundaries and consequences. And I think that's when it goes wrong, when parents don't have those boundaries.
Yeah, one that worked really well for us.
Yeah, tell me some good stories. I love it.
Addison lost your birthday party last year.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a biggie.
The parents thought I was the worst mum ever.
I love it.
It was 4 days before, sleepover, birthday party. She's been really looking forward to it. And we said, look, if your behavior doesn't improve, you're going to lose it. Did something, birthday party cancelled.
And I said to the parents, and they're like, are you serious? You're joking, right? And I said, no, I'm perfectly serious. She's not having a party.
So,
that's amazing. How pissed was she?
Yeah.
She got over it. We still remind her of it.
Yeah.
Hey, you lost your birthday party.
Well, you need to use
Anything's
that.
possible.
Yeah. But man, you pull that card out, like you pull that, like mom will do anything. Mom's a little crazy. Like, gotta watch out, man.
Mom is a little crazy.
And she, we were over here Christmas 2 years ago. Well, no, not the Christmas, just been the one before. And she left her iPad at the ice rink, and we flew out that night. And we said, nah, it can just stay there. So we got it 6 months later when we came back over. So
no way.
But it was the same
no
as
iPad for 6 months.
There
It's
you
like,
go.
no, we're not going to plan a flight over. You can just go out.
Lachlan, when he was younger, like, if he got frustrated when he was a lot younger, would whack his stick on the ice. And Brett's like, you do that one more time, I'm taking that off you and you get an old wooden stick. So, he didn't do that anymore. No more, Willa. No more. So he was actually really good. As soon as that was set, he didn't bang his stick. He didn't have to use a wooden stick. Just,
They're different kids.
But it's funny you say that. Like, I think it's crazy, right? Like how you have 2 children, same here, and they're so different. So you need to, you said about like some kids will snap early, some kids will kind of melt down a little later. I can push one of my kids way harder than I can push the other one, but I can also push the other one in a certain way. So knowing that, I think, is huge. And whether you're coaching a team or you have your own kids, like knowing what they can and can't. And like Locke, if you say one thing about hockey, I'm sure he's right in line. Like you're not going to practice today. Like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. I'll eat my carrots or whatever that is,
Yeah.
And I think that's important too, right? Is knowing what buttons to push with your kids to get them to fall in line. But yeah.
And that's the thing with parents not spending more time with their kids. They don't know. They don't know how
For
to parent
sure.
their kids properly.
Yeah.
So, and then like as sports coaches or teachers or whatever, you're having to deal with these behavioral issues or, whatever it is that you shouldn't really have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because
definitely. Yeah. It's always like, as a parent, I think sometimes it's always like a little bit disheartening when they're talking to let's say their coach or something, and they're like, oh, he's really good at this. And you're like, didn't know that? You're just like, okay, yeah, no, great. And they get home, like, hey, show me this. Like, what? Or they comes home, like, hey, Dad, check this out. Look what I can do. And like, where'd you learn that? Like, so-and-so taught me. Like, geez, man, like you can feel like you're missing out on stuff sometimes,
Yeah.
And as a parent, I think there's a lot of like guilt things that go on, right? You're trying to be a good parent. You're trying to be disciplined. You're trying to, there's a lot of things that play into being a parent, obviously, that at times I think kind of beat you up mentally a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I think, as long as you got your kids' best interests at heart and know what's best for them and know your kids, then, you're on the right track. We all make mistakes as parents.
For sure.
Like we're all learning as we go along, aren't we?
Totally.
No guidebook.
Yeah, we've got a young guy who's just about to have his first child, right? And I was, I love giving parent advice because I'm opinionated. So but I was like, honestly, man, you're going to leave the hospital. You're going to be in the hospital and everything's great. You got nurses all around you. Everything's good. Like everything's good. Everything's started. And then they're going to just give you the baby. And you went in there 24 hours before without a baby. You had a pregnant wife. Now you have a baby. You're going to get home. No idea what to do with this kid. You got to just feed it, make sure it pees and poos, hopefully. And it's, it's sleeping. But other than that, I don't care how many books you read on parenting. When you get the actual real fact, my wife was all into books, right? And she's like, you got to read this one. I'm like, I'm not reading a book. Because I know, I can read it. This is because when we went through the actual pregnancy, you go to the pre-pregnancy classes and hold your wife and rub her shoulders. And was it like that when? No, she's like, get the hell away from me. Don't touch me. She's she's freaking out. I'm kind of anxious because she's in pain. This is nothing like the classes. We had a pillow, we had a ball. It was all good. It was all happy. There's music on. This is a screaming, yelling, So I was like, no, I'm not reading a book. I will just, and you get through it. You just make sure you don't hurt the kid. You make sure the kid doesn't bounce too high when he drops. You just gotta pick it up on the second bounce. But yeah, you just kind of, trying to battle through it and, get through it. Kids are awesome though, eh?
They are. They are fantastic. And that's the one thing that I think sometimes you need to think that they're not a mini version of you. As much as, because I think I've seen it lots, parents, your hopes or their hopes and dreams and aspirations that they might not have been able to achieve something. So then they will their child to do that and will push their child into something that they don't want to do. Yeah. So, as far as whatever, their goals are, whatever their passion is, then I've always been go for that. Addison, she was a player and then she went goalie and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, nothing against goalies, but
they're important.
Yeah, they are important. Yeah. And I was just like, what if that's what she wants to do? Sweet as, go for it. So Santa brought her some pads.
Yeah.
And she was goalie for about 2 years, but because of lack of goalie coaching. And then she was like, I want to go play her again. I was like, cool, fantastic.
Wasn't her fit. She's a real little social butterfly. She likes to be in the mix of all of it. And
and that's the thing.
Not so much as a goalie.
Yeah. So
you're stuck a lot on your own as a goalie.
Hang out with her friends.
Yeah.
So if that's what she wanted to do, if that's where her passion was, then I was like, I wasn't going to force her because we'd bought her goalie gear. Yeah. No, you're going to be a goalie. We paid all this money. You're going to be a goalie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if that's what she wanted to do, then so be it, and she's loving it here. So.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. We have one rule in our house that whatever you decide to do in life doesn't matter. Do whatever you want to do. You just got to make enough money to take care of your mom and dad when we get old. That's it. Yeah. And I like to travel a lot. I'm going to be traveling to New Zealand, so there's going to be a little bit of bank there, but you got to make sure you got enough money for us.
Yeah. That's it. You have to. Have you traveled to New Zealand?
No, we haven't. And my sister has a partner who's from Australia, so they go back and forth a little bit. They were down there for quite a while, a couple of months at one point and longer. And my sister was very artsy, was a musician and toured all over the place. So there was one point where we didn't have kids at that point, and my wife and I were like, let's go over, we'll go visit my sister and her partner and stuff. And we just never did. And we kind of kick ourselves, but it is places like New Zealand. My sister talks so highly of it, and Australia obviously as well. So those are areas definitely that are on the bucket list to go and check out for sure. And I'll definitely, now that I have free lodging, cause I know you guys, it's gonna be great. Yeah, but even like, as a hockey guy or skills, whatever you want to call it, my wheels turn all the time. So I'm thinking like, man, New Zealand would be a wicked spot to go run a camp or go run a clinic or do some things down there. And like, kind of, and I don't even care about, it's not, for me, it's not about the money at all. It's just like the experience. But I'm thinking about this gentleman who's running those camps at that really cool kind of resort rink, outdoor rink, great opportunity. And he's probably got a market there he probably lives a great life, has a lot of fun, enjoys it, is growing hockey a little bit and helping kids out, which is cool. And, I'm like, man, good for him. Like that's a pretty cool opportunity right there, It
is. He loves it. And his wife wants him to give it up because he's quite old now.
Yeah.
But he's so passionate about it and he loves it. But if you want to come over, just let me know and we'll organize some ice time.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'd totally love to set you up for running a camp or 2 or 3 or
cool.
however long you want to stay.
A couple months maybe, a couple years.
Stay permanently.
IHF maybe for about 3 years in a row a few years back. Because we're third world hockey basically. So they would supply us 2 Swedish coaches.
Okay.
And we also got Perry Wilson.
Okay,
From the Windsor Spitfires.
Yeah.
So he'd come over and coach.
In the summer, like in their off season, right?
Their off season. So he'd come over with the 2 Swede players, or coaches, and they would run coaches clinics throughout New Zealand, as well as like a little camp for the kids as well. And they'll come along and coach everyone how to coach.
Very cool.
And that was really cool. But they haven't been over for about a couple of 3 years now. So which is kind of a shame. Yeah. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So, but I think he used to go to Australia, New Zealand, China, and so on, and just run
that's cool
goalie things throughout for Hockey Canada. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, that's something that we'll have to definitely chat about down the road for sure. I know we'll be in touch, obviously, but been in touch the last couple of years, obviously with the family coming up, but and kind of more got to know you guys this trip around, which has been kind of really cool. And I'm really appreciate you guys coming on because I think it's cool for Canadians to see a different country and a different perspective on, especially a smaller country, not maybe a third world hockey country. But I think it's cool for us sometimes because we kind of take it for granted, right? We take hockey for granted. Everyone plays. It's easy to access it for the most part. It is expensive, like anywhere, right? But it's cool to kind of hear how it's growing, I guess, and also how you guys are running it down in another country. It's cool.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on.
No, thank you very much, and safe travels home. Yeah. And we'll hopefully see you guys back in Canada soon.
Hopefully, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.